And welcome to the Transcending and Succeed show. I'm Dawn Livingston, and it's my pleasure to introduce my special guest for today's show, Wendy Watson, a beacon of hope and transformation in the realm of spiritual healing and personal growth. With over 12 years of experience as a massage therapist and a profound dedication to energy modalities, Wendy has honed her skills to guide others on their path to self-discovery and spiritual connection. Today we're delving into Wendy's expertise in navigating through life's chaos, fostering self-awareness and unlocking the potential for profound peace and fulfillment rooted in authenticity and love. So Wendy, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me on.
You're so welcome. It's lovely to see you. Firstly, can you share your life experiences that sparked your journey towards personal growth?
Yeah, so it started when my parents got divorced when I was 8. As a Cancer, as an empath, as numerology 11, it was very traumatizing for me because they broke up this space that's supposed to be safe and secure. And so that started off with my angry communication. And then my mom felt bad for the divorce, so she spoiled us, which spoiled angry communication really doesn't do well. And my dad kind of went into a depression, and so he was no longer present. He was around, but he wasn't present. And that affected our relationship. And so the only male role model I had was my maternal grandfather. And then he passed away when I was 14. And my mom remarried when I was 11. My dad remarried when I was 16. And they both married terrible people. My stepdad and his family stole and lied from each other and from us. And my stepmom, her kids were stealing from each other. And she was putting a wedge between my dad and his daughters. And so I fell into my first marriage looking for love and comfort that I wasn't getting at home, only to make a very tumultuous decision, which taught me a lot of good lessons, but it was a very rough and abusive, not physically, but emotionally, verbally abusive relationship. That lasted 6.5 years. I divorced him and just rebounded into another relationship because I didn't know what rebounding was. And that was equally as tumultuous. And so I ended up getting a second divorce. And right after my second divorce, I lost a pregnancy. And at that point, I was done. And I was like, things have got to change. Why am I picking the same people? Why am I surrounded by all of these toxic, insecure behavioral patterns? And I realized that a lot of it had to do with my family. So there's a lot of imprints that we are given when we're being reared, right? Because we don't know any different. So whatever we're reared with is whatever we think is normal. And those are the patterns that I fell into. And the start of coming out of it was in 2009 when I was given my 70-20-10 rule. But after losing a child, I opened up, I went and bought the energy medicine book by Dr. Donna Eden and was going to incorporate that into my massage business. And it completely changed my life.
What did you find in the book that changed your life?
So in that particular book, Donna talks about 9 different energy systems. So most people are aware of your aura, your chakras, and your meridians. Well, she talks about your basic grid, your triple warmer, your 5 rhythms, your electrics, your some other things, right? And as you go through the exercises in that book and you clear the energy patterns and the blockages and the stagnations, all of this past life regressions, current life emotions, and all of these things that you've been through come up, and you clear them and you find the forgiveness and you release the guilt. And as I went through that, and I'm no longer holding all of this anger, resentment towards my current family, but also some of the stuff that I've needed to release from past lives, just completely opened me up. And I'm high energetic, super high energetic, and I don't drink caffeine. I can't tell you the last time I've been sick. And all of my gifts, 6 of the 8 clairs had just slowly started unfolding, and all of these gifts started coming out. And I'm like, oh, okay.
This is a little overwhelming.
I'm just like, okay, what are we doing today?
That's great. And we've all got something that turns our life around, and energy healing changed my life as well. I mean, it kicked off with Reiki about 25 years ago for me, and I've just developed things, ongoing since then. But isn't it amazing? I mean, you're talking about you take things on, you take vibrations on, we take it on from our ancestors, from our parents, our grandparents, etc. So we, in essence, take their traits. So if somebody in our family line is vibrating anger, then we are likely to vibrate anger as well, unless we energetically clear it. So aren't these types of modalities that can work with that vibration, they're really life changing.
Yes. And if you can learn, better yet, not just, clearing them is great, but if you can learn to set energetic boundaries,
yes,
so that you don't take them in the first place,
yeah,
that to me is more powerful. You still have to do the clearings because, just like a car, things build up. Even if you do the oil change, residue still builds up, right? So
yes.
even if you have the best boundaries, sometimes residue just builds up. So you still have to go in periodically and have it cleaned, but it's less maintenance.
Yes.
Because you're doing the work, you're doing the preventative maintenance.
Yes, because we don't want to let it build up so much that we explode like a volcano with our emotions, because that's what happens, isn't it?
Yes, we either explode with our emotions, or we get insomnia, or we get acid reflux. We have all of these other physical manifestations that arise because we're not doing that work.
Yeah, that's very true. Very true. And you don't want to explode like a volcano. It's not pretty. It's definitely not a pretty thing.
It's not pretty, and it's
No.
not healthy. And all parties end up getting hurt, and all you're doing is creating more hurt in the world, and we don't need any more of that.
That's true. That's true. So how did that chaotic environment of your upbringing then affect your early perceptions of life and relationships?
Man, I didn't know that gossip was a negative thing, that I was gossiping, right? Because I was just what my mom called venting. But most people don't like gossiping, and gossiping is not good for the most part, right? Unless there's good intentions and you're doing it with thought and care and love, and you're being very particular about what you're saying and whether or not it's your business to say, really. But when you're just sitting at the water cooler at work, gossiping away about this person did this and this person did that, and oh my God, did you hear Shane say this, or, you know, whatever it is. Like, somebody told me, she's like, you're a gossiper. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. And I can tell you, I can't tell you how many jobs I've been fired from for being abrasive. And I didn't know what abrasive meant, and nobody would teach me what that meant. So, like, there's all of these negative patterns that if we're not taught what they are, if we're not taught how to tie our shoes, then we don't know how to tie them, right? If we don't know what abrasive means and how to correct that, then you're likely not going to develop healthy relationships.
That's very true. Very true. So when you were working for corporate America, you told me this earlier, but you were granted permission to embrace imperfection. Tell us that story and what happened there.
So I was raised by two entrepreneurs, and especially on a construction site, you can't say no. You have to think you have to think outside the box. You have to think about all these things, which created a perfectionist mentality for me. And my boss one day came up and he's like, you know, if 70% of the invoices go through just fine and 20% need to be escalated and 10% we can write off, that is our goal. And I was like, wait, you're telling me I don't have to be perfect? And he's like, actually, we kind of planned to write stuff off. And that was a huge deal for me. I was like, holy moly, I don't have to be perfect. And then my soul came at rest, and it's like, I don't have to be perfect. And I allowed myself to accept the permission to not be perfect, right? So it's one thing if we can lead the horse to water, but only the water can drink, right? Somebody can present the opportunity, but we have to allow ourselves to accept that opportunity. And so I took that 70-20-10 and I started looking at it in the lens of communication. And I realized at that time, the people that I was around, 70% of what they told me was their own stuff, their own fears, their own baggage, their own beliefs, their own emotions, their own stuff. Only 10% of it was directly personal to me or the conversation at hand. And 20% was kind of a blend in there somewhere. And then I realized, okay, if 70 to 90% of the information is not even personal to me, or not even personal to the conversation, why am I taking it in? Why am I taking offense to it? And what good does that information serve me? Which allowed me to learn discernment. Discerning the energies, the emotions, the words, all of the communication patterns that people were putting on me or sending in my direction. And by being able to filter 90% of that information, it gave me the energy to then figure out what I was projecting on other people. And I was doing the same thing. I was projecting 70% of my own stuff. And only 10% of it was personal. So then I started working on that. And the first thing I did was removing any self-punishing words, right? So, you jerk, why'd you drop your phone, right? Or, dagnabbit, you know better. Like, all of those to me are all self-punishing words or statements. And I quickly turned them into gratitude statements. So instead of calling somebody a jerk because they cut me off on the freeway, I turned that into a gratitude statement saying, thank you for not hitting me.
That's very good.
Thank you for not causing an accident.
I need to start using that.
Or when I drop my phone, it's like, okay, thank you for not breaking.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for not falling in the toilet. Thank you for, thank you for something.
Mm-hmm.
And start using those positive words and the positive mindsets and working through my own habits and imprints. And now 90% of what I say is useful, good, positive information and important to the person that I'm speaking to or the audience that I'm speaking to, and very intentional.
Yeah. And it's being aware that you're saying these types of things, isn't it? And actually being able to flip them round and make them positive. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, with everything that I've been through, you have choices. You can either dwell and fall into that victim mentality and fall into the pain and the despair and the depression and all the things, or you can choose to pick yourself up by the bootstraps and work on little things at a time, right? Because a lot of people will fall into those negative depressions because they see the other side as being like this huge mountain that they have to climb. Mm-hmm. And it feels very overwhelming. And they're like, oh my gosh, like that doesn't even seem possible. Or it feels uncomfortable. Maybe security and safety feels uncomfortable for you because you've been so traumatized. And so you don't know what that feels like. And so they don't choose that direction because of those. But if you look at them like little baby steps and you just tackle one sentence, one paragraph at a time, yes, and not look at the whole 33-page essay, yeah, like just look at one sentence, fix that one sentence, then work on the next sentence. Before you know it, you've got a whole paragraph done.
Yeah. Yeah. It's small steps. Yeah, so that it doesn't appear to be overwhelming. Yeah, because we all perceive it to be different, don't we? So, you could perceive that mountain totally different to the way I perceive it. But yeah, baby steps, or taking small bites out the elephant, because you can't eat the elephant in one sitting, can you?
You can't. I worked with a client. He was a hypnotherapist himself, and so he would do work on himself, or he would go to another hypnotherapist. But there were a few times where he came to me, and he's just like, I keep getting this block. And he's like, and I've seen this brick wall and I've knocked it down, but for some reason it's not going anywhere and it's still there and I still feel this block. And so we did some energy work, and what I realized was that he was standing like a football field away from it. And I'm like, I want you to walk all the way up to that wall to where you can touch it. And as he walked up to the wall and he got there, and he's like, oh my God.
Wow.
I didn't realize how big the wall was. And so, yeah, I talked him through it. He got, visually speaking, he got this battering ram out and he busted the wall down and he walked right through the rubble and onto the other side. And he took off after that.
That's great. Yeah. It's about having the awareness, excuse me, that you can actually do that, that you have got the power within yourself to make those changes. I think, people just sit in we worry about it. Oh, I can't do that. That's too much. That's too much to do. But with a little bit of encouragement and, the information to give them the understanding that they do have the ability to take their life back, because we're all sovereign beings, aren't we? We've got to take back our sovereignty instead of handing it all over to others.
Yes.
Yeah.
And, the conversations I've been having lately is that they don't know that they can change their contracts.
Yeah.
And it's like, yes, you can change. And those are your contracts.
Mm-hmm.
You can change anything that you want.
Yeah. Whenever you like.
You can change your death date. You can change your path in this life. You can change the lessons that you wanted to learn. You can change anything that you want. Nothing is set in stone.
Yeah, totally agree. Did you find your transition from that career in corporate America to specializing in your energy work and spiritual therapy, was that an easy thing for you to do, or did it take some time?
That took some time. So I was still married when I got let go from corporate accounting. It was in 2009 when most people were getting restructured, and couldn't find a job, and it felt suffocating to go back to a cubicle. And so I made my list of what I wanted my new career to be, and massage therapy just checked off all the boxes. And I was just at a point where I just went for it. Didn't even think about it and just went for it. But it was a complete dynamic change. I went from accounting to massage therapy to anatomy and bodily functions and all that stuff. So that in itself was a paradox change. And then going from a corporate paycheck where you get a regular paycheck every 2 weeks and you know what it's going to be and they already take out your taxes and all the things, to a sales paycheck, which you don't know when you're going to get paid or what you're going to get paid. And then you have to save the money aside for taxes and everything else. And that was really hard. Just the financial change, the industry change, all of that was a huge adjustment for me.
I think it's a huge adjustment for anyone that's going to work for themselves. I put my hand up and agree with everything you said there.
And that's why a lot of people won't make that leap, because it's a lot of work and people don't like doing the work.
Yeah, they don't like the change either. It's too much. It's much easier to stay where I am, even though I'm not happy and I don't want to be here. If I make this change, I'm going to have to, learn this and learn it. There's not going to be the ease of, like you say, having your taxes paid at the time your money is given over to you. So I know exactly what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah, humans are creatures of habit.
Yes.
So they don't like change, and uncertainty is scary for a lot of people.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So those were the biggest struggles that I had. But once I got my massage business going, that's when I started getting into the energy work deeper. That's when I found the energy medicine book. And the more I got into that, just the easier it was to transition.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But did you find it, I don't know if you're the same as me, but when you did that transition, you decided just to, resign from the corporate side of things and move into your own space. Did you find that freeing? I find it really freeing, but kind of a little bit scary at the same time.
Yeah, so it was very liberating, but at the same, so luckily I had a husband at the time that had a second income coming in. So, but if I had to do that when I was single or anything now, man, that would be, a whole nother set of scary. But yeah, it was liberating because I've always been an independent and anti-authoritarian, really. So to be on my own and to make my own money and to make my own rules and not have to answer to anybody but the clients that I choose to work with and all of that stuff, so liberating. I loved it. Yeah. I still love it.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
I don't know that I could go back and work for somebody after being...
I think going and sitting behind a desk for 8 hours a day doing something for somebody else that you don't particularly like doing does not merge with me at all. I'm not on that frequency at all any longer.
No. You know what job stands for, right?
Oh, do tell.
Just over broke.
Oh, I like that. Just over broke. That's probably very true, yeah.
It's so true. You're taking 10% or 5% or whatever it is just to put it into a savings account. So you're getting what you get paid is determined by somebody else, and then you put it into somebody else's hands to manage for you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it doesn't seem right now you put it like that, does it?
I want to be in charge of my own destiny. Yes. Thank you. And how much money I make and what I do with it.
Yeah, and we all can be. We just need a little bit of coaxing, eh? Okay, one quick question before we go for a break. Was there anything else that motivated you to embark on this journey of personal growth? I mean, despite the challenges that you had as a child?
Despite all of that, And some people give me empathy, and to me, it's all life. It's all learning experiences. We're all, spiritual beings living an earthly life, and to me, we're all here to learn lessons and to experience life as much as possible, because the more we experience, the more we learn. And so for me, I'm grateful for everything that I have gone through, because otherwise I wouldn't be the person I am today. I wouldn't be, have all these skill sets and be able to help so many people and have the empathy. Even when I was getting carted into the OR room to have my pregnancy removed, I felt more empathy for the nurse that was wheeling me in, because I lost mine at 6 months, or at 6 weeks. She lost hers at 6 months. And her husband were looking forward to the child. And at 6 months, you've already got a name. You've already got the room set up. Everybody knows about it. Like, you're about to have your party and like all the celebrations around it. Getting wheeled into the OR, I felt worse for her. I felt more empathy for her than I did for myself. And so if we don't open up to the gratitude of all of these difficult situations and opens ourselves up to learning the lessons and finding the gratitude, that to me is what it's all about.
Yeah. Yeah, just changing that mindset, isn't it? The thinking that, yeah, it could be something that's been devastating to you, but there's a reason for it, and learning from that, so turning the tragedies into, well, I suppose, other kinds of positive challenges.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, now is a good time. We'll just take a quick break, but stay with us because Wendy is going to tell us her fun fact. So we will be right back.
Hi, I'm Bobby Aldridge with BAM Metrics. There are so many programs out there that measure your swing speed, sets, reps, your BMI, your body fat, but the one thing they're not measuring that's so essential is mobility. Mobility is the key. If you're measuring your mobility, your performance will get better and you will reduce your pain. I created BAM Metrics to make it easy for people to repeat the exercises so they could do it properly at home on their own. It's simple, it's easy to do, and from a senior to a pro athlete.
And welcome back. And I'm here today with Wendy Watson. Wendy, tell us your fun fact.
So my fun fact is that I have played 12 different sports.
12?
Yeah, gymnastics, bowling, tennis, tap dance, ballet, piano, softball, you name it. I've pretty much done a lot of it.
Very athletic.
Yeah.
Is this still
back
now?
in my younger years.
Is this when you were younger, yeah? Or do you
Yes,
still do
yes.
these sort of things? Right. Okay.
Yes,
Right.
absolutely.
I was when I was at school. Yeah, definitely very energetic, and did swimming and netball and all these type of things. But,
Swimming, country dancing, Kaylee dancing, which I
yeah,
think
we did.
is so much fun.
Was that a Scottish Kaylee?
It was Irish Kaylee.
Well, close. That's close enough. Very similar.
Phoenix has a Irish cultural center where they allow people to come in. Like I think it's once every, like the third Thursday or something for $5, and it's just a bunch of people getting around and Kaylee dancing and drinking whiskey, and yeah, it's a great time.
Kaylee dancings are exhausting. They're very energetic. The last 10 minutes and that
You do like one dance for 10 minutes and then you're sitting down for like 20.
That is very true. Get your breath back. Yeah. Okay, so let's move on and talk about your 5 pillars. So what are your 5 pillars, your key principles, and why are they so important for growth?
So my 5 pillars are self-ownership, self-leadership, trailblazing skills, effective communication, and self-awareness. And I believe, so for me, self-ownership is the most important, right? Owning yourself, owning who you are, owning what you take in from other people, like just stepping into that ownership of exactly who you are, what you believe in, and sticking to your grounds, I think is the most important, because otherwise we lose sight of who we are with so many interactions, especially with entrepreneurs, but even in daily life with so many interactions, and we naturally feed off of that energy. It's very easy to lose track of the sense of who we are, like truly deep down inside. And so the self-leadership leads to the self-ownership, right? So leading yourself in the direction, following, making decisions, following your path, right? Taking accountability, all of those things is part of self-leadership. And then being self-aware. Like, what are your habits? Are you the one that's always late? Or are you the one that's always early? Right? So that's self-awareness, is knowing the difference of that. Self-leadership is identifying whether or not you're okay with that or whether or not you want to change that habit. And then self-ownership is taking ownership of whatever decision that you make of how you want to act and be. And I think effective communication is the only way to really express who you are and to be able to build relationships. And most people think that in order to be a trailblazer, you need to be Amelia Earhart, or you need to be Tesla or Einstein. But we all have our own path to blaze. And so just owning that path and blazing it, and being the best that you can be at whatever that you're meant to be in this world, or whatever message that you're meant to say, or whatever it is. And just, so I feel like they all play a role with each other. One leads into the next one, leads into the next one. But if you can obtain like all 5 of those, man, you're unstoppable. Yeah. And nobody can ever hurt your feelings. And you'll always be able to find true forgiveness all the way down. So I talk about 3 layers of forgiveness. So all the way down to the 3rd layer of forgiveness, which is spirituality, and just living your best authentic self and being in your light.
I like the trailblazing one. I really like that one, because we are all unique individuals, right? So we're not going to have the same path as somebody else. So being able to understand that and owning that path, like you said, but without looking at competition, because nobody else is doing the same thing that you're doing. You're totally unique. Once you can let that go, I find it makes such a difference in your in your life, in your confidence, in the way you move forward and the way you tackle challenges. I think it makes such a big difference if you can understand that there's nobody out there like you and there's nobody doing the exact same thing. That just it just takes off the blinders, really, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And that means that your unique imprint and the impact that you're going to have on the people around you that you interact with throughout your life is going to be completely unique. Mm-hmm. It may not be in the limelight like Amelia Earhart and Tesla and Einstein and all the people, but it doesn't make your impact any less valuable.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, can you talk to us about the 6 points of energy that you use to find harmony?
Yes. So this was downloaded to me a couple months ago. Mm-hmm. So most people talk about mind, body, energy, or mind, body, spirit. Mm-hmm. And most people focus on nutritional health and physical health, and mental health is becoming more and more prominent. Emotional health, right? So those are the main 4 that most people talk about. But what about your spiritual energy? And what about the energy of love, which is the most important and the most powerful energy in this universe? I just gave this speech last week, and I saved the last one, which is love, for last. And I asked everybody in the room, and there was probably 20 people in there, if they knew what the last one was. So we'd already talked about physical, nutritional, mental, emotional, and spiritual. And nobody could guess what it was. And then when I revealed it, they were like, oh, right, of course. And to me, that should be, if we lead with love, whether it's with other people, but most importantly with ourselves, if we can lead with love, then the decisions that we make with our food are more in alignment and more healthier for ourselves. If we lead with love in physical activity and take care of our bodies, then we'll feel better in our bodies. If we lead with love and make sure that what we're feeding our mind is healthy and good for our spirit, and not in the fear mongering and not into a lot of the other negative things, right? Like focusing on all the riots or all the cultural things that are happening right now, or the war in Israel and the UK. If that's what you're going to focus on, is that really healthy for your mindset? Are you operating with love by feeding your mind the proper things? When you lead with love, you accept your emotions for what they are, and you allow yourself to feel them. And then you find the forgiveness, and then you can choose what you want to feel, right? Because you're in that space of love and giving and nurturing and caring. And when you're in that space, you connect. When you're working through all of those, you connect with spirit, you connect with God, you connect with the universe on a much clearer and healthier level, which means you can hear them better, which means you can get their messages better, which means your intuition is stronger.
Self-love is a big thing, isn't it? I notice a lot of our lack of self-love. People don't treat themselves properly. And, without the understanding that really your existence is holistic. It's the mental, emotional, physical, spiritual, etc. And any imbalance that you have in any of those realms are going to manifest themselves physically. So they just need to look at their physical body and then take it from there to understand that there are imbalances, and it's not just physical. It can be in one or many of them.
Yeah. So they all affect each other, right? Mm-hmm. That's where there's the term emotional eating, mm-hmm. right? Everybody's eaten a pint of ice cream or gone binge drinking after a breakup, right? Or something, right? So it's balancing all of those different energies. And when one is out of balance, you have 5 other sources that you can draw from. in order to bring that one back into balance, or in order to set yourself up for success, right? So if you know that you're having that time of the month and you know that you're a little extra cranky because of that, how do you set yourself up for success knowing that you have these other 5 energy sources to draw from in order to protect your emotions or to keep you from going out in public when you probably shouldn't be talking to people that day, right?
Yes.
So that we don't have that moment of, oh, I wish I would have said that better.
Oh, we've all been there.
Right? We've all been there, right? Or in those days where, you know, you're just not feeling your best, or you're feeling bloated, and so you don't want to go work out.
Mm-hmm.
How can you eat a little bit better that day? How can you give yourself a little bit of emotional forgiveness? How can you tune in to your, you know, mind over body, mind over spirit, and tune into that that mental energy in order to take care of your body when you wouldn't normally have the energy for it.
Yeah.
So I talk about how they all connect, how they all relate to each other, and how to draw off of energies from the other sources in order to keep yourself in balance.
Interesting. That's great.
Yeah, thanks.
So how has your exploration of energy modalities and spirituality contributed to your personal healing and growth?
Say that one more time.
How has your exploration of energy modalities and spirituality?
That is a great question. So the more I get into the energy modalities, it helps me to keep the channels clear. And when the channels are clear, the communication is better, right? So that's part of it. But also learning what spirit sounds like, or what Archangel Michael sounds like, or what my intuition sounds like. They're all different sounds. They all use different vocabulary. So it's like, okay, who's talking to me, right? Or what downloads feel like. So some people think it's tinnitus when it's really just a download. Because sometimes you'll get the buzzing or
the frequency in the ears. Yeah.
The frequency in the ears. Yes. And I had a client last week. She's like, oh, my tinnitus is kicking in right now. I'm like, that's not tinnitus. That's a download. Right. So exploring all of those different ways and really tuning in. And yeah, I mean, that's been fascinating. I don't I don't know how else to describe that, because it's so unique to each person. What I hear and who I talk to is going to be different than what you hear and what you talk to. So just exploring that, I think, is fascinating, and knowing, right? It helps you to affirm and have faith and trust in the communication that you're getting in the bigger source. And the more you can have faith and trust in that, then the more you have faith and trust in the guidance that they're giving you and the way that your life is supposed to play out. Right? Or what path that you're on and what kind of an impact you're supposed to make on this life. Yeah, so for me, the exploration of it has really, really developed my faith and trust in whatever God is, in the ultimate source of energy and the spirit realm and all that stuff. Because I was raised in a Orthodox Christian house. So I am definitely the black sheep of the family. And I had this negative imprint on what religion looked like. Because my family was, you know, very judgmental. They were very closed-minded. And so for me, just freeing my mind and looking at all the different possibilities and looking at the bigger picture and not being so boxed in, right? It's a spiritual liberation for me.
I like the knowledge and the information, excuse me, that you gain from all this exploration. You know, it can help with your experience and it adds to your wisdom as well. That's what I like, really helping you to expand everything. You know, you're growing mentally and spiritually. I just like to, you know, have a little dive into lots of different modalities. And do you find that you can take certain things or resonate with you a lot more than other parts of it? So you just like cherry pick different things that resonate with you and pull it all together. That's what I find I'm doing.
Yeah, so I love drumming. I love sage and Palo Santo and using herbs. And right now I'm learning spiritual herbalism from a vitalist approach, which I find personally, I find better than the holistic approach. But I love learning as much as I can and then seeing what resonates with me, right? So some people may resonate with the Irish fairies, right? Some people may resonate with Thor and Freya and that more Nordic aspect of spirituality. And for me, it's all the same. It's all the same thing, but what words or what messages or what frequency from the music, from the chimes, right? I have a set of chimes that I use when I go to journey. That really helps me get into that deeper theta state so that I can journey. Other people love drums when they journey. So it's whatever works for you, but gaining the knowledge, practicing it so that you know whether or not it does resonate with you, right? Instead of just assuming or prejudging, being like, oh, I don't understand how drums can get you there, I'm not going to try it. Instead of at least exploring it and at least trying it. In the worst case scenario, it's a no anyways, but at least you tried it. And if it does work, then you have one more tool in your toolbox.
Yeah, there you go. We're always gathering tools for our toolbox.
Yes. I love having as many tools in my toolbox as I can handle.
Me too. Me too. You work with people to help them develop their clairs. So could you tell us what they are?
Yes. So there are 8 clairs. So you have your sense of taste, you have your sense of smell, you have your sense of physical touch, you have your sense of knowing, you have your sense of hearing, audible hearing, and then there's the sense of spiritual hearing, and then there's the sense of, then you have your telepathy and all of that stuff. And so I believe everybody has access to all of those 8 clairs, but depending on your upbringing or, you may have stuffed them down, you may have gotten in trouble for using them, so you closed them off, or maybe you were just never taught that they were there. And so I love helping people develop those, because the telepathy and the sense of knowing and the sense of hearing and all of those things help you to communicate with your intuition, help you to communicate with spirit, help you to communicate with your spirit. So if you don't have those developed, then it's harder to make decisions that are in alignment with you or that's in alignment with your path. And it's harder to hear the coaching and the guiding that spirit guides that God are giving you. So I love helping people develop those for themselves, no matter how hidden they are. And it may just be one of them. It may be all 8 of them, right? But whatever combination it is that you use or that is stronger for you, like there's some people that are better at the imagery and the visualization, the sense of seeing. Other people are naturally better at the sense of knowing or the sense of hearing. So which one do you is naturally easier for you? Let's develop that one first. And then let's slowly start getting into some of the other ones so that you can be present, so that you can operate within your authenticity, so that you can step into your self-ownership and your self-leadership and really blaze that trail that you're meant to blaze in this life.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes we can have a combination of them at any one time, and then another time we can have another combination. I think it's just, whatever you're meant to be given is kind of given to you symbolically for you to work out. That's sometimes what I find. So sometimes I can get that as an image, or sometimes I can get it like it's almost like a video playing in my third eye.
Yeah.
I can see like a motion picture. Other times I just see colours. Other times I get words that come through to me. So yeah, it takes some time to develop it. I think I was a child when I was starting to see these images. I never thought anything of them. And I remember mentioning it to some people at school, and that was really when I was ridiculed. And I think that's when I shut it off, up until I was about 30 years old, I think.
Yeah.
And then it started to come back in. So it's naturally there. You have an innate ability to, communicate in different ways. So it just comes through in different ways. And sometimes I get like a feeling in the body.
Mm-hmm.
What is it you yourself experience?
Right. So I found out in my 30s that I used to see auras and see things about people when I was younger, but I always used to get in trouble for it. So I shut it off. And so the more I got into massage therapy and into the energy stuff, the more it came out. For me, I get, right. So a lot of people, their main sense of one of the most popular ones is goosebumps.
Yes.
Right? When you get the goosebumpies and you're like, ooh, I feel that. I feel it tingly, right? Even during this show, I've been getting downloads.
Mm-hmm.
I've been getting that frequency vibration changing. I can see things. It all depends on what I'm doing and how I'm supposed to be receiving that message for that person, whether it's me or a client that I'm working on. A lot of the times with my clients, I get visuals, right? So I'll get like a visual of a past life that they had. I'll get like a movie that played out. Like I had this client, she kept getting pains in her right forearm. And one of the things that came up was that in a past life, it was like 1800, like 19th century, so 1800 something in the Midwest where it's cowboys and Indians and all that stuff. And they were in like an old town, and the cowboys came running through and killed her husband and her son. And she was so traumatized by it that she went up and she slit the right wrist. And so that was the energy of that coming forward. So I get the whole movie that plays out. Sometimes it's just a sense of knowing, or sometimes I'll get words. Sometimes I'll hear a song. I was at a dinner once, and all of a sudden the song started playing, or I heard somebody singing, and I'm looking around and there was nobody around me that was singing. And I'm like, who is that? What are you doing? What are you trying to tell me?
Yeah, had those as well. Not for a while writing up the songs, but hey. We only have a couple of minutes left, so can I put this information on the screen if you would tell the viewers how you can help them and where they can reach you?
Yeah, so you can reach me on my website, which is TBR Spiritual Health, and TBR stands for To Be Revealed. Or you can find me on any social media link, LinkedIn, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Yelp, YouTube, at TBR Spiritual Health. Or you can call or text me at 720-782-6090.
Great stuff. Just a last quick question. What projects have you got coming up this year? Have you got anything that you're going to have coming out soon, or what are you working on?
Yeah, so I'm launching my Limitless Living group program this week. So I'm super excited for that. You get 3 90-minute sessions with me as a group, and we're going to talk about energy and how they're all related, and teach you energy manipulation techniques that you can do for yourself so that you can set your own self-care routine and all of that amazing stuff. Get some training videos. And that is going to be an amazing program. I'm excited to launch it. It is called the Limitless Living Program.
Well, the very best of luck with it.
Thank you.
I've had a great conversation. It's been lovely having you, Wendy. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you so much to the viewers for tuning in today. We hope to see you next week.